Well, thank you for coming in, viewers. Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist, Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia. Appreciate you stopping by for this video. I do want to warn listeners that this video is going to have spiritual and psychological content that could be confronting and too much for some people to bear. It's very close and deep to the bone. I'm not going to hold back. I got a revelation today that's answered many questions for me. This is why in the multitude of counselors there is safety. You can see just bear with me for a minute. But I do want to warn you, this take is not going to be for the faint-hearted. It's pretty heavy. It's got some truth in it that people might not want to accept or hear. But I've been told somehow in my spirit to go back and explain the answers to why the narcissistic mother from verse 19 of Proverbs 21 grooms her children to be dependent on her, and what the object of it is, and how they groom them and what they do. They don't even know they're doing it, a lot of these people. They'll make it look like they're a wonderful mother. They'll make it look like they've put their children before all else. And if you're not up for this, you pull out now. I'm going in deep now. But the narcissistic mother, the one that's been let down by the man, the one that's just gone carnal, the one that's had an incident in her life and it's turned her against her husband, the quarrelsome, complaining wife that probably did have reason to quarrel at the start, but the devil got a foothold with this. Sorry, and just come in from making the blinds. We just made these blinds for the property. I'll show you. Yeah, see those blinds there? We made them for the property. Terrific. And we're pretty busy at it. Sorry, so I do ask you to excuse me. They are abused, terribly abused, these women, but they have a fascination for the abuse, probably from childhood trauma of one sort of another, that is carried through with them and sabotaged them through most of their adult life. They've had a fascination for narcissism themselves. They've been abused, physically abused, because their choices of men were not right. They made terrible, horrible choices in their lust. Lust was what was driving them. They found themselves in their rebellion to drive these short-tempered people with their screams for help, which is quarrelsome and complaining. So you've got to realize a lot of time what can be interpreted as quarrelsome and complaining, it just cries for help, let's get this relationship right, has caused the mother to reject the man and attach to the child in a way in which was a source of rescue for the mother, which is not what parenting's about. Because you'll find a lot of these adult males run around trying to rescue the mother. I can remember in a couple of the relationships I used to think, what are they trying to rescue her from? I'm sharing positive love, affection, company, sexuality, give, take, caring and sharing. And these people, these young adult men that have been raised by these, at different times, unbearable women, because they chameleonize themselves, they change. Why are they trying to rescue her from something that isn't wrong? And it gets really dark. When you look back, you'll see that the woman usually didn't pick men that were going to be of any benefit to her. It was more of a attraction than a decision based on the qualities and quantities of the men, based on lust. And they've determined to try and make things work, but they were never going to, because the child, a lot of these women will have children to 2 or 3 men. The child, the firstborn child, will have become a source of security and identity, and such a form of value for this woman that nothing is going to break this bond. And it's not a maternal bond, it goes beyond that. It's a bond that is extra maternal, and it's dark. It's a bond that manipulates the child and the parent to work in such a way as to they have a whole spiritual dimension between themselves that nobody else is aware of and are ever going to be aware of. People just know that there's a bond between the mother and the son, be it the scapegoat and the golden child. She'll have 2 different things going on with these children, which is working in cooperation. Usually the scapegoat is the wild one who will take the blame for everything and run around cleaning up everybody's mess, running to the rescue and whatnot. And then you've got the golden child that just stands over everyone and gets everything his way, and everybody grandioses him and just ruins him or her. But I'm focusing on mothers and sons at the moment. As the woman gets older and less attractive and still is going through the cycle of abuse, she's been let down over and over again by the man that she's with. This has caused her to be combative, deep, dark combative, to the point where she's now gang-stalked the husband out of the house by use of the sons, the males. She's worked the males to the point where they're now, psychologically and spiritually equipped to begin to spiritually and psychologically gang stalk the male figure out of the house, who usually has undermined himself by habits and behaviors that are not acceptable in the realm of the light. Now the problem with this is this group, this quarrelsome and complaining group that are living in the lusts of their flesh, are expecting somebody to produce light and change where there is no light. There's no light, there's no source of light in that formation. The spiritual formation's corrupted. God the Father's a mother and all this other stuff that they come up with. The sons are on board with this, so they've been put in the dark and deceived. They've got a Christian pedigree which they've been pulled away from and corrupted from. This is all grooming by the adult to make sure the sons are disabled and are reliant on the parent. And you say, I don't believe you. You don't believe me? Stick around if you think you can get through this. Instead of the parent building and equipping the children into adults, they are groomed and undermined so that they cannot find the light while they're in the presence of the domestic formation, which means God's plan for them to leave the place and grow and go and find life and be fruitful is being sabotaged by the parent. And it's all under the guise of how great a mother this person is. Look at what I want to do for my little husbands, you might call them. She makes them believe that they need her as much as she needs them, and this is the demonic side of it, the deep, dark, demonic side of it, where they're all enmeshed and they're riding on each other's emotions. And it's a victory for them when a stranger comes in and they go into the darkness as well, and in agreement with how these people live, which is usually alcohol-fueled, the devil's lettuce-fueled, marijuana, dope, and any other drugs that can keep the people numbed out and dark. They're numbing the light out of the people that are coming into their presence, and they're holding them captive in their relationships via the darkness, via the spell of the alcohol, the spell of the drugs. And she will keep the light away from the sons. She will not encourage them to enter into the light, because she will feed them the alcohol, the drugs, the medications, and anything else she thinks necessary for them to not feel the pain she feels. Not what they feel. She feels, because it's all evolved around what she has gone through. They groom their children to be dependent on them, and they keep them in the dark, and they'll numb them out if they have to, so that they, quote, do not lose them. These people have strayed from common sense. They have made a situation that's so dark, the household has no light, and it's no different to a sepulchre or a tomb, whitewashed tomb. The way in which she numbs them into the darkness keeps them poor spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. They'll numb them into a drug-filled stupor and dependence on the drugs. Now drugs have become a part of their life. And it's a demon-filled toxic situation. They want the wine which they can get, and they dream of the luxury, but they never accomplish it, and they've had thousands, tens of thousands of dollars pass through their fingertips. It's all been wasted. They have a tremendous ill will towards people of the light. They cannot experience the light because they're too dull, and when the light comes in, it shines too bright, and it causes them to feel very uncomfortable and very out of sorts. If one of the family members needs a partner, and it's obvious that they do, I've watched this, they will allow that partner to come in initially, and then slowly but surely they will turn on those strangers, particularly if they're bringing in light. And believe me, some of these people that come in will turn on them with the light, and they will give these people to have an opportunity to come into the light. And when they turn away from the light, like a vampire from a crucifix, these people leave. It's better to live alone in a desert. then with a woman that's been so abused, she's become combative, masculine, and narcissistic. It's very, very sad. It's very, very evil as well. They fear resolve. They fear commitment because they've been so broken by the people that they've had in their lives. They just don't want to commit anymore. And they push the people that they're in relationships to the edge. Because justice in the light, the godly and the joy of the light, terrifies them. It's just too far away from what they've been used to. They've been groomed to be dulled in the dark, like zombies. They end up in the dark, spiritually, emotionally, and physically dead. The living dead. These children then are... Now, the problem is, for these parents, sometimes one of the children will get a sense of the light and leave, and this will send the parent, the covert narcissistic mother, into a spin, and she'll say in her sleep, I've lost him, I've lost him, I've lost him, I've lost him, because her grooming hasn't worked. Her little dark addict has gone. And now she's in the quandary of all that I invested and all that I lost. She gave up relationships and marriages for these little disciples. And now they're estranging her in the spirit realm. They've looked and they've gone, I don't want to end up like that. There's something not right with how I've been raised. These black sheep wake up. The question is, though, for how long? This is the deep darkness of this kind of infiltration into the lives of these children. You don't see this behind closed doors. You have to go behind closed doors to see this. And because they've been so deeply and spiritually infiltrated by the way in which they've been domestically raised and formed, with all the drugs and domestic abuse and sexual abuse and whatever else has gone on, they've watched the mother come with different men, and they know that this one's only going to last so long before they get another one, and they'll contribute to the breakup, and it's so toxic. But they've had the light. The light has come in and they've rejected it. What have they rejected it for? Their bond, their enmeshment, which cannot be broken. It's evil and it's dark, and these parents do this to their children, these drug addicts. They'll do it to their children every day of the week. They'll give them the drugs, they'll give them the money for the drugs, they'll supply them, they'll do whatever it takes to keep them doled out. They think they're doing them a favour. But it's evil. Absolute evil. The wise conquer the city of the evil, and they level the fortress in which they trust. When you come in with the light and they're partaking of your light and your energy, and I'll close with this because I've gone well over my time, your light and energy, this brings a follow-on light effect into their darkness. And when you're gone, the light will try and shine in their darkness, and this can cause all sorts of trouble. Psychological trouble, mental trouble, spiritual trouble. People of the light get haunted by the dark. People that are this far into the darkness are haunted, terrified by the light. They don't want to hear where they need to improve. They can't see the joy in going into the light. There's no joy in that for them. That's been eradicated in the grooming as they're being raised to believe that cigarettes and alcohol and drugs and gambling and all these things that we've known for millenniums aren't right are the way to go. They're not the way to go. And these people just don't stay out of trouble. They're troubled within themselves. They might not get in trouble out of in the world, then again they might, but if they don't, they're definitely troubled in here, where it counts. In here. They lose relationships, they lose their money, some of them lose their jobs and then can't re-establish themselves. They lose their mental health, they lose their physical health and emotional health. Spiritual health's not there. And they just try and bluff their way through life. And it's sad and it's wrong, and you feel sorry for these people because you're in their lives and they're hostile towards you, and you're saying to the mother, I can show these guys some things, and she just stays mute. That tells you instantly that these people are being groomed not to go anywhere, not to develop in life. I'm sorry, I know, I told you this is heavy, man. But this is what's happening. And they're using the drugs and the medications and their lifestyles, their ruined lifestyles, to impregnate these young men and women to believe that's the way to go, and it's not. So when someone with the light comes in, of course there's going to be narcissistic collapse. Of course there's going to be psychological breakdown. The vibration and the energy is just too much. It's not that you've done anything wrong or anything bad's happened. They have to. They're repulsed by who you are. It's not about you, it's what's happening in them. Don't engage it. Don't encourage it. Don't even get involved in it. Don't be bluffed by it. See, I've had a couple of them try to bluff me with you're this and you said that and all this and that. But I knew they were groomed. I knew they were not raised right. They were taken into sorcery and all this other stuff with the smoking and the drugs. It's all sorcery. People don't want to admit it, but it is. If this has helped you or resonated with you, I would ask you to consider liking or sharing. At least comment with your experiences, please. I'll continue this in the next talk. It's very heavy material. Thank you for joining me. I'm Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist, Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia. Bye for now.